Okay, right. This is your project explorer, so that you can see all kind of files related to the project or different projects here. This is project explorer, and this is the menu of your Sublime text editor, and this is the editor where you can edit your program. So what I'm going to do is just right click on it, folder, and create a new file. Try to save this. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it as an introduction.html. Okay, we'll start with HTML. By the way, I'm sorry about this. Before that, let's got stuck. I don't want this. So I just want to start with a new folder like HTML. Inside this, okay, introduction.html. Okay, type HTML. And if you want to zoom in or zoom out, hold your control button, press what do you call plus symbol. Okay, this is the way you can do that. And by the way, ఇదంతా ఎలా వచ్చిందో చెప్తానండి. But before that, let me explain what is an HTML. We have seen all these things inside our regular demo session. Okay, so what? Let us understand. HTML means HTML, hypertext markup language, right? So this is called markup language. Markup means we are going to add some extra content to the normal text in order to make the text as a structured data. Okay, so for example, you can see so in this training you can see that now this is what is called a normal text, right? This text it's trying to say something like a list of colors, but unfortunately you can see the other place is something like a fruit, a mango. If you observed, when a user look into this particular what do you call a simple text, immediately they can say this is a list of colors, right? Blindly they can say it's a list of colors. Why? Because they can see green, yellow, orange, all these are come under as a colors only. But unfortunately the other intention is different. Okay, for example, I can show that one. The other intention is something like he want to show a list of colors in the first hierarchy, and he want to show a list of fruits based on the color as a second hierarchy. So that orange and mango is fruits. Oh, sorry, what do you call? These are fruits that are categorized inside the yellow color. Okay, this is the intention, other intention. But how do I make this simple text into this well-structured content? Got it? That is what is called markup language. Markup language is nothing but it's going to add some extra content. Markup means some extra content we are going to add. That's some extra content to the regular text in order to make it as a well-structured content. That is why HTML is used to structure the web page. HTML is used to structure the web page. This kind of structurization or this kind of markup you have seen already in our local missions by using a what do you call WordPad tools. For example, let us assume you people have developed or you have written a book. Okay, you want to make that book to be purchased. So you want to make some sales on that book. Okay, so this is chapter 1, and I'm going to write some text here. Anyway, I'll explain these shortcuts later on. Don't worry how I get all this text. I'll explain these things. So this is my text. So if my book contains something like this, will anyone wants to read it? Okay, we need to structure the book, right? So we need to decorate this. Then only the people can enjoy the book while reading, right? Not only content, you need to structure it. So how do I structure it? I need to add some markup by using the Word document tools. uh, Something you can see a lot of options, graphic options that you can see inside this word processor tool. Now I have something like h1. I can see this is fine. Something like this is not that much good. I want some underline as well. Something I want to make this to be center. Let us try with this. Yeah, this is fine, right? uh, 1 second. Normal title. Now you can see this is somewhat better, right? I need to capitalize this, and let me make this chapter to be right side. Okay, and I want to bold this. All these options are nothing but something called marking up the text content. Got it? This is what is called markup. See, for the paragraph also I need to place some gap in between the lines. Okay, and I need to provide, oops, sorry, some space before that indentation we can call. And I want to increase the font size. I want to justify the paragraph. Now you can see this is justification. And something like this, Arial. I want to increase some font size, something like this. Now all these are graphic options in order to make your text to be well structured, and it can be readable, okay, and understandable. So by using markup, by using hypertext markup, okay, by using HTML language, we are going to structure the data. We're going to structure the data, right? So that it will be understandable and readable. Okay, it will provide understandability or readability, what are the things you can add, something like this. Okay, I'll explain what is a hyperladder on. Okay, see, this is graphic way of adding the markup, right? But in the internet we don't use such kind of graphic tools. We need to write some code. Okay, why? Because the text will be on fly. It will come on fly. It's not going to reside in my local computer. So I don't find local fonts. Okay, I don't find. See, every computer will use different kinds of fonts or font families or colors, etc., etc. So we need a common platform, so that we need to structure it. Okay, that is what is called hypertext markup language. Okay, I'll explain what is the hyper later on. Okay, uh, right. So what we are going to do, we are providing HTML as a HTML code. You can give like this. Okay, HTML code as a data. I need to place something like browser is going to take. This is not good. I need to add. Let's take this one. Okay, we are providing HTML code as an input to the browser, and we are getting well structured web page. Okay, if you look at Google web page, okay, let's go for the Google. Now just take on this. Now you can see, by looking at the web page, you can enjoy the look. Okay, so that the image, the logo is the center, and you have the text box at center, and you have some menu items at what is called top right corner, something like that. Okay, how does the browser know how does the code is converted into this well structured format? How the browser is going to construct such a wonderful web page from the HTML code? Okay, so what we need to do is, I just want to take Firefox, Mozilla Firefox. Why? Because there is a add-on in Firefox so that you can understand how the HTML page is converted into a neat web page. Okay, just not this one. I need to add some add-ons. Add-ons. Go to the get add-ons. Okay, so what way I have to go for this? 3D HTML type, something like that. Let's look at that. There is a software or add-on called Tilt. Switch. Oh my god, a lot of add-ons are there. Might be Tilt. Tilt software. It's not there. 3D web page. One second. See, I just installed Tilt software. Now, what I'm going to do, just go for something. This is the web page I want to see. Now, press Alt F, go to the tools, web developer, Tilt. This is the 3D view of your web page. Okay, let's go for any other thing. Bing.com. It was nice, right? I can find a lot of things here. Go to tools, developers, Tilt. I can see how this web page was constructed. Now I can see the wallpaper got expanded to the top. Okay, and you can find a lot of things, and you can find some components that is out of the box. Okay, and below that you have some other components. Okay, that what we are going to scroll out. Okay, now this will explain. Now I'm not going to take this one. I want to take a simple example now. Let us go for this. Let's see how it's going to be. Now let observe this one. My question is, how does the browser will understand the HTML code and how it is converted into well-structured page and how it is going to construct the components on the web page? Okay, this is my question. How does this is very important thing. You will find an what do you call this as a interview question. Okay, so how does the web page or browser constructs the web page based on the HTML code? Okay, simple. By understanding the relationship between The HTML tags, HTML elements. There are a lot of elements that are there inside the HTML. Okay, for the time being, I just want to mention some elements can act as a parent element, some elements can be act as a child element, some elements can act as a what we can call neighbors. Okay, now you can see always child will be on top of the parent, right? Let us consider this is the parent element, for example. Okay, here you can see HTML. On top of it we have head and body and title. So this is a body section. On top of it we have another element is there. So I can say this is the parent, this is the child. If this is the child, this will be the parent, this will be the grandparent. So based on the relationship between each and every element that we are going to use in our code, okay, so the page, the browser is going to place all those components on top of each other. And along with that, you can see these things. You can see, I can say these are neighbors, right? Okay, Yahoo, this one, I'm talking about this light blue, this one, and this one, and this one. All these are neighbors. And this one is not a neighbor. Okay, I'll explain why it is not neighbor later on. For the time being, you can see if it is a neighbor, those will be placed side by side. If it is a parent-child relationship, those will be placed on top of each other. Okay, stacked order, I can say, stacked order. Likewise, you can see this one. So by understanding the relationship between the HTML elements, our browser is going to construct a neat, wonderful web page. Okay. So while writing the code, HTML code, you need to what do you call? Remember, you need to be very cautious while writing the HTML code. You need to place in a hierarchy manner. Okay. Then only you can understand the code, and the browser can easily understand the things. And if you start a particular tag, you need to close it. Okay, so that is very important when you get into the HTML code. And by the way, what I'm going to do, HTML is constructed with, generally HTML was constructed with three language components. Three components, I can say three components. Okay, first one, tags. Second one, elements. Third one, attributes. By using these three components, the entire HTML was constructed. And by the way, HTML is a declarative language. Declarative language. What do you mean by the declarative language? We just declare the elements. We're not going to bother about the syntactical things. Okay, whether it's correct or not, we are not going to compile it. We're not going to interpret it. Just like other languages like C, Java, and JavaScript, something like that. We just declare the tags. That is called declarative language. Okay, of course, it has its own some kind of importance are there. Okay, so it's your duty to write in good code or neat code without any syntactical errors, all those things. Of course, if you do so, if you have some syntactical errors in the HTML, browser doesn't provide any errors related to that. Okay, but anyway, let's start with the tags. you know Tags are some kind of markup. Markup means just in order to decorate or in order to structure the text content. Okay, so it has extra kernel called a markup to the actual text. Okay, so it starts with the tags. Each tag starts with, tag has angular brackets. Okay, tags will represent with angular brackets. Now example, in this case I can take something like HTML. This is a tag. Okay, the text will be wrapped with angular brackets. So we have two types of tags are there. First one, uh, dependent tags. Second one, independent tags. Okay. So what do you mean by dependent tags? Dependent tags means if I write, okay, dependent tags, opening, what I can say, it always require closing behavior with other tag. For example, you can take HTML itself or body. Let us take a body or HTML itself. HTML. HTML is a dependent tag. Why? Because if you open like this, you have something called HTML. This is called opening closing tag, and this is called opening tag. Okay, so if you write one tag, definitely it requires other tag. So one depend on other. That means opening tag will depend on closing tag. Closing tag will depend on opening tag. If you don't write any one of these, okay, the output will be undesired value, or the way you can see the web page will be different. Okay, so I'll show that one example later on. So you have plenty of dependent tags are there. Whereas in case of independent tags, it may or may not require the closing behavior. Markup. Example, you can take something you have, you know, there is a B tag. Okay, sorry, BR tag, break line. We can call it break line. Okay, so break line. Or if you take image tag, IMG, image tag. All these are independent tags. Doesn't require the closing behavior. Only single tag is sufficient to represent the an element. Okay. For example, generally independent tags have two types of syntaxes. Two types of syntaxes. Okay. First one. You can see something like BR or image. You can write like this. Second type of syntax will be like this. BR. This one. Okay. So what is this two? Why two types of syntaxes here? Okay, both will work. You can write br tag either in this form or in this form. Okay, both are valid for the image case also. Are you getting? So why two types of syntaxes? I'll explain these things in our JavaScript. Okay, but for the time being, this is called HTML representation. This is XML or XHTML representation. You know, XML is a very strict language. Okay, so it definitely required the closing behavior, for all the tags. So that is why in case of independent tags also, okay, in case of independent tags also, we write a closing behaviors like this. This is representing the closing behavior. If you find such type of what you call tag representation, then you can easily say this is XML representation or XHTML representation. Got it? So this is two kinds of representations here. Hope you understand. HTML representation, both will valid in our HTML. No need to worry about this one. You can write this one or you can write this one. Just for understanding purpose, I'm going to write all this stuff. Okay. Now, what is an element? It is the collection of, or it is the combination of content plus markup. Markups are the tags. Okay. Nothing but I can use tags. Content means, what is the content here? It can be text. See, what is the content in the internet? It can be text or an image or a video or an audio, okay, a graphic, an animation, okay. All these things are nothing but a content, right? So, an element can be a combination of text content or a content plus markup. You need to write the tags as well. So the example for this one, for example, I can write a H1 tag. There is a H1 tag, heading tag, we can call it as. So heading tag is a dependent tag. So that requires both closing and opening behaviors. In between that, you can write something like heading like this. Now this is the text content. Along with the text, we have some markup. This is markup. Okay. Now the collective thing, we can call it as a element. In HTML, we have different types of elements are there. Okay, based on the operation, I can say different types of elements based on the, what I can call, content, I can say. So we have something called text elements. Okay, text formatting elements. The first category I can write text formatting elements. Second one is media elements, something like image, video, audio, something like that. Graphic elements, we have some SVG graphics, all those things. And we have containers like div container, section container, okay, table container, all these things. And finally, we have something called form elements. Of course, form also comes under the container itself. Okay, or I can write form elements, instead of form elements, I can write input elements. So these input elements are going to capture the data from the user. So that when you're going to signed in Facebook or Twitter, you have to enter some data. So by using input elements, we are going to capture the user information. Okay, so these are the different types of categorization that you can find related to the HTML elements. I categorize it as a 5. Is there anything? So let us make some discussion over this. We have something called headings. All headings will comes under text headings or comes under text formatting elements. Paragraph, okay, bold, italic, styles, I can say styles. Okay, uh, I'll write headings simply paragraph, bold, italic. You just understand the letters. Okay, why? Because I don't find much space here. So italic, del, okay, small tag, delete tag. Okay, what is the mark tag? Something like that, mark tag. I'll just etc, etc. Okay, now coming to the media elements, you can find image. I'm going to categorize image itself as a media. Okay, mm, media, video element, audio element. Okay, oh, and I need to place one of the link tag, link element. Okay, something like that. Link elements are also there. Anchor tag, a link tag, a script tag, something like that. And coming to the graphics, you have what is that? SVG graphics, scalar vector graphics, we can call. And what is that? Canvas, something like that. Okay. And containers, you have div container, What else we have? Table container. Okay. Span as inline elements. I'm not getting right now. So yeah, header element, footer elements, a little different kinds of containers are there. Coming to the input, you have something called text field. Okay, FIELD field, or we can call it the okay with the help of input attribute, input text text field. Uh, what do you call buttons, etc., etc. All this kind of categorized as input. See, only we have six types of elements in your HTML. So why I categorize like this, so that you can easily remember. Okay, what kind of see, when you, if you are new to this HTML language, definitely you will face how many number of tags are there and how to remember all these things. Okay, so when we need to use a particular a tag in particular situations. Okay, so that's why I just categorize it like this. Okay, we will see some more categorization as we go on. Okay, so again we have different types of elements based on its size or its behavior, I can say, or size. Behavior, I can say behavior for the timing. All the HTML elements are divided into two types. See, this is based on its behavior, this is based on the content. All these HTML elements, again, you can classify it into something called one is what I can call block level element. Okay, second one is inline elements. We'll talk about these things later on. Okay, block level and inline. Okay, the last but not least, we have attributes. Now, what is the attribute? It provides some extra information about the element, what color it is, what size of the element, something like that. Okay, whether the content to be centered align, those are called attributes. Types, we have three types of attributes are there. One is string attributes, second one is not boolean, what is that, enumerated attributes, and boolean attributes. That's it. So string attributes means it has attribute will be written like this. Example I need to provide actually for this. What I can give h1, let us take the heading section itself. I just add the markup like this. We have the heading, and attributes will be right inside the opening tag. So I'm going to write something called align equal to center. If you want to make this heading content to be centered, you need to add this as an attribute to your element. This is a key, this is a value, I can say. This is the attribute name and this is the attribute value. So we have, based on the value, we categorized the three types of the attributes. One is string attribute, second one is enumerated, third one is boolean attribute. String attribute means the value will be any kind of string, letters. Okay, for example, you can take inside anchor tag, there is an anchor tag. We'll talk about this one later on. Let me take this one. So next page, something like that. This is my content. Inside this, what we are going to do, href, there is an attribute called href, hyperlink reference, and I'm going to add http www.google.com. Now you can see this is a string, right? This is a collection of letters. So if you have such kind of value, inside the attribute, a particular attribute value, then we can call it as a string attributes. So that is string attributes. Okay, enumerated attributes means the value will be keyed values. Value will be predefined values, predefined words, I can say. For example, you can just take this one as well. See, CNTER. This is not a random string, right? This is a predefined word. So if you find some such kind of predefined words, then we can call as enumerated attributes. Okay. So coming to the Boolean. Boolean means the value will be two types. The value will be two. Okay. Something like true or false. Got it? True or false. So for example, I can take something like mm, what Boolean value I can say. Okay. So you can say for the anchor tag itself, I'm sorry, I just haven't explained the anchor tag, but still I'm using these things. Uh, so anchor tag, some assume that is some kind of tag. Okay, if you want to download that page, okay, we can use download is equal to download. This is Boolean representation. Okay, that means either you can use just place the Boolean, download like this. If this is a Boolean attribute, that means if you place this download, that means the download option is true. If you don't place it, then the download option is false. Got it? So this is what is called Boolean attribute. Boolean means bool means two. We are going to place either true or false. If this is happens, the download is possible. If this is not there for the tag, the download of the page will not be happen. Generally, Boolean attribute is of two types. Two types of syntax. Syntax. Okay, one is HTML. Sorry, not HTML. What is it called? Either you can use download like this, or second one is, or you can say HTML representation. You just simply place download. Okay, and you have something called XML or HTML representation. XML or XHTML representation is very strict languages, so definitely it requires this. If this is the keyed value, this is the name of the Boolean attribute, definitely that name should have its value. That is what is XML. Everything will be very specific. So that is why we write something download equal to download. Okay, so this kind of representation is called XHTML representation. This kind of representation we can call HTML representation. Got it? Sometimes you can find something like this. Okay, sometimes you can find a Boolean attribute like this. I'll show this one as we go on. Okay, hope you understand. We have two types of tags, dependent and independent tags. We have uh, two categories, or I can say the division will be two types based on the content as well as based on its behavior. Based on content, we divide all HTML tags into six parts or six categories. Based on its behavior, we divided the all HTML elements as two types, block level and in level. Likewise, we have attributes. Attribute is going to define some extra information about the element. Basically, these types of three types. Attributes are of three types: string attributes, enumerated attributes, and Boolean attributes. Okay, these are the things that you can find inside this. Hope you understand this one. So let's start a simple page. So if you want to start a HTML, you start with an HTML element. Okay, something like this. This is a basic structure you can start. So I told you HTML element or HTML tag is a independent tag, so definitely it requires the closing behavior. Okay, the Sublime text editor itself provide an automatic complete of the tag. So if you write something like this, okay, just press tab, okay, or by open any Angular bracket, press tab. Oops, it's not getting. Why am I not getting this one? Oops, not this one. Yeah, forward slash. If you type forward slash and press tab, automatically it will complete the closing section. Okay, inside this, the entire HTML, just like human body, we have two parts. One is head section and a body section. Likewise, in HTML also we have a head section, right head and press tab, body section, right body and press tab. So we have two parts. So head section is meant for what do you call? What do you call? We can write titles. We can link other pages, link other codes, other language codes like CSS code. Okay, and you can add script code, JavaScript code, okay, all these things. And we can write something called meta tags. Meta tags are going to give much or more information about the HTML page. I will talk about some of the meta tags later on. Okay, so the tags are related to the completely related to the page information, the document information we can write here. Okay, so in this we can write some title. There is a title tag, title, and press tab. It automatically completes things. Inside this we can write something like what I can write. My first or HTML introduction. I can write here introduction. Inside the body section. Okay, body is responsible for the HTML web page. Now this is the and this white category you can see this one. This is nothing but the body section, and the title will be here. You won't find a head section on the page except this one, this particular tab. Okay, now you can write anything inside this. For the time being, I just want to write some content here. H1. I have taken H1 tag, and I'm going to write heading, something like GAD in the heading. Okay, now right click on the browser, open the particular link in the browser. Now you can see heading you can find on your page. This is your body section of the HTML page. This is your head section of the HTML page. Okay, title you can got it right. So instead of writing all this stuff, what I'm going to do, let me take out this. So every time it will be very difficult for me to write all this basic structure. Okay, for this, what the what do you call the Sublime Text editors provide a shortcut for this. After writing the HTML, you just press tab. It will auto-complete the basic structure of the HTML page along with the title. Okay. So what you do? The shortcut is okay. Type type HTML and press tab. So no need to write all the stuff, all letters, and see HTML is some kind of freaky syntaxes like Angular brackets. It's very difficult to write all this stuff with Angular brackets, right? So for this, we need to use some shortcuts. So for the basic structure of the HTML page, you have something called HTML. You can just write HTML and press tab. It will auto-complete the basic HTML structure. And let me write the introduction here. Introduction. And here you can write what we can do. Heading section, I'm going to H1, okay, and write heading. And by the way, you can see this is some kind of weird thing. Okay, this is what is called doc type. Doc, doc type can be represented with such kind of angular bracket, and you need to place an exclamation mark. This represents the version of the HTML page. If you have document type like this, HTML, this is HTML5 syntax. That means your browser can understand, okay, the page contains only HTML5 syntaxes. If your browser contains some syntax like, I need to get not this one. I just go for HTML. So something like you can see. Now you can see if you have a doc type like this, HTML doc type public W3C DTD. W3 means World Wide Web Consortium. Okay, so I'll explain this one. Okay, so you can find a doc representation like this, a URL like this. Then this is of HTML 4.01 of strict type. Okay, and you can see the strict.html. HTML4 has three kinds of versions are there. HTML 4.01 strict, 4.01 transitional, loose type, 4.01 frame sets, something like that. Okay, but unfortunately I can say everyone is using HTML5, so no need to remember the doc type like this. Okay, so no need to write all this stuff, you just go with the doc type like this. Okay, why doc type of HTML5? This simple means at the time of release of HTML5, the doc type wasn't prepared. No, I think that is the reason behind the scenes. Okay, that is why you have a simple a doc type representation of the HTML5. Now coming to the W3C, that is World Wide Web Consortium. You can see that it's on W3 schools. W3C.org. Founder is Tim Berners-Lee. This organization is a standard organization which is providing all the rules and regulations, policies related to the HTML, CSS, and uh, browser standards and HTML language standards. All these things will be prepared and published by this organization. Only is going to take care about all this stuff. Okay, so recently I heard about HTML 5.1 is going to be released. HTML 5.2 is going to release in the market. Okay, so such kind of standardizations and policies and validator, all these things you can find will come from this organization only. The entire I can say more about this W3C. This because of this we are able to work on web. Okay, so this is wonderful, right? You can find a lot of new things that you can find related to the our web technologies. Okay, more than it finds a lot of things are there. A lot of research has been going on these web technologies like HTML language, CSS language, browser standards. Okay, something like that. You can see the unicorn, all these things. Got it? So that is what is called a doc type. By using this, you can create a simple web page, something like this. You have a title and you have some content inside your body section of the web page. Hope you understand this one. Okay,